Have you ever bought something that just broke, like the very next day? Or maybe you've wondered what exactly a company director does with all that power. Well, today, we're diving into the official rulebook of Australian business. This is the playbook that affects all of us, whether you're running a company or just doing your weekly shopping. So, let's get right into it.
All right, here's our game plan. We're going to start with the big picture, the main rulebooks and who enforces them. Then we'll zoom right in on the people in charge, the directors. After that, it's all about you and your rights as a customer. We'll also take a look at the pretty serious consequences when things go wrong, and then, to wrap it all up, we'll give you a practical toolkit for how to make things right. Let's kick off.
First things first, the best way to think about Australian business is like a sport. And to really understand how it's played, you've got to know the rules of the game, who the referees are, and how they make their calls. This section is all about setting up that field of play.
So who's actually blowing the whistle here? Well, it's definitely not the Wild West. Australian commerce is shaped by some very specific laws, and it's all overseen by some pretty powerful regulators. Let's meet the two main players that really define the game.
Here's a great way to think about this. Imagine a company is like a high-performance car. The Corporations Act, that's the owner's manual. It tells you how to build the engine, how it works, and how to maintain it. But the Australian consumer law, well, that's the set of road rules. It tells you how you have to drive that car on public roads to keep everybody safe. One is all about what happens inside the company. The other is about how the company interacts with the outside world.
And here are our referees. You've got ASIC, which is kind of like the corporate cop on the beat. They're making sure companies themselves are playing by the internal rules, that owner's manual. Then you've got the ACC. They're the consumer's champion, focused on making sure there's fair play in the marketplace and that your rights are protected. Together, they work to keep the whole game honest.
Okay, so now that we know the rules and the referees, let's talk about the team captains, the company directors. That Corporations Act, the car manual we were just talking about, doesn't just explain how to build the car. It gives the drivers a very specific set of responsibilities. Let's break those down.
These 5 duties you see here are the absolute heart of a director's job. You can think of it as their code of conduct. And why do they exist? Well, it's all about making sure that directors always put the company's interests first, not their own personal gain. Really, it just boils down to being honest, being careful, and being transparent.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head. A director cannot just pass the buck. I mean, sure, they can delegate tasks, of course, but they can never delegate their ultimate responsibility. They have to stay plugged in, they have to ask the tough questions, and they absolutely have to pay attention. In the eyes of the law, I didn't know is just not an excuse.
And this duty of care, it has some serious teeth, especially when it comes to the company's money. A director is the captain of the ship, right? They can't knowingly steer that ship towards a financial waterfall. Trading while insolvent means taking on new debts when you know you can't pay the ones you already have. Directors have a legal duty to slam on the brakes and get help, not hit the accelerator. It's one of their most critical jobs.
So, that's the view from the boardroom. But what about the view from the shop floor? You know, the law isn't just about putting rules on businesses. It's also about giving some really powerful rights to you, the consumer. So let's flip the coin and look at your side of the deal.
So who exactly is a consumer? You might actually be surprised. It's not just about buying a carton of milk. As it says here, if you buy a family car for under $100,000, you're a consumer. But if a small business buys a new office printer for, say, $5,000, they're also considered a consumer. The law casts a really wide net to protect as many people and small businesses as possible.
These are basically your superpowers as a consumer. Every single time you buy something, the law automatically guarantees that it has to be up to scratch. It has to work, it has to be safe, and it has to do what the seller said it would do. And these guarantees, they are completely non-negotiable. They exist on top of any extra warranty the store might offer. They're your fundamental rights.
Now this is a big one. Businesses cannot pull a fast one on you. They have to be upfront and honest in everything they do. And what's really crucial here is that they don't even have to successfully trick someone. If their conduct just has the potential to mislead someone, that's enough to break the law. It's an incredibly powerful tool for keeping businesses honest.
Okay, so we've got a clear rulebook for both sides of the transaction, but what happens when someone decides to just tear a page out and ignore it? Well, the penalties for breaking these laws can be absolutely massive. Let's take a look at what happens when the game gets dirty.
Let's talk about the real-world case of Get Swift.
This was a flashy tech startup that promised to completely revolutionize delivery services. But it turned out their huge promises were basically built on a house of cards. They repeatedly misled their investors and the market about how successful they were, and the fallout was just enormous.
And here's the kicker. The company didn't just take the fall by itself. The person in charge, the executive chairman, was personally hit with this staggering $2 million fine. This is proof that the so-called corporate veil isn't bulletproof. Directors can and absolutely will be held personally responsible for their actions.
And it wasn't just about the money, not by a long shot. He was also banned from being a director for 15 years. Just think about that. That's not a slap on the wrist. That is a career death sentence. The message from the courts is crystal clear. If you break the rules this badly, you are out of the game. Period.
And GetSwift is just one example. As you can see from this chart, the regulators have a whole arsenal of penalties they can use. We're talking about massive corporate fines that can cripple a business, being personally banned from the industry, and in the most serious cases, even jail time. The stakes are incredibly high.
Okay, enough about the big end of town. Let's bring it back to you. What happens if that brand new phone you bought is a total lemon? Or a tradesperson does a really shoddy job at your house? Well, don't worry. The law has your back. Here's your step-by-step guide to getting things sorted out.
First things first, you've got to speak up. Let the business know there's a problem and do it as quickly as you can. If a simple conversation doesn't fix it, get it in writing. An email is perfect because it creates a record. Just be clear and polite about what's wrong and what you want. A repair, a replacement, or a refund. And definitely don't be afraid to follow up. You have rights, so you need to use them.
Now, if you're just hitting a brick wall, don't despair. You don't have to lawyer up just yet. Things like mediation or conciliation are a fantastic next step. It's kind of like having a neutral third party come in to help you and the business find a sensible solution. It's almost always cheaper, faster, and a whole lot less stressful than going to court.
So there you have it. The rules of the game are written down, and they're pretty clear. But that leaves us with the million-dollar question. Is the game truly fair? I mean, in a world of global giants, super complex contracts, and automated customer service, do you, the individual, really have a fighting chance? That's the real test of our business laws. What do you think?